Hell yeah.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and tonight we're revisiting a film that we've already looked on my channel, but we're revisiting it for a reason, because it's got a re-release from 88 Films, and it's one of my favourite British folk horror films, and it's Blood on Satan's Claw. It's been released on 88 Films on 4K and a Blu-ray release. But the Blu-ray release does feature the 4K restoration. So I've gone for the Blu-ray release. Comes with this absolutely amazing high quality slipcase, which is absolutely fantastic, really, really cool. It comes with a reversible cover, it comes with the Blu-ray, and it comes with a booklet, which is really, really cool. And it comes with an absolute ton of new extra features that are not on the other version that I have. But to be honest, I'm glad I got both versions, because both of them bring something unique to the film. This edition of the film, which I will tell you about in a minute, when I just give you a little catch up on our story. This story captures I would say, probably a normal, to an extent, village of its time. That Britain has been ruled by King James III, I believe, and we visit a small farming village where we, first of all, are more introduced to the land and the earth than the actual people that live in the actual village, because the way the film is shot, it's just so wonderfully shot, so low down, that it makes the earth and the ground feel like a character in itself, and the ground is sort of like it's viewing these people that live in this town and this little village, and you're almost looking at it from the ground itself, what's underneath ground, so I wonder if we are playing the part of somebody who is watching this little village and its sort of humble surroundings. And we meet an array of wonderful characters throughout the film. I mean, we have our farmhand, who's got the biggest sort of curly afro hair in the world, but he plows the land. He finds things in the land. He finds what he believes to be the face of a fiend in the land, which is covered in sort of gore and worms, and looking at him, and it sort of like puts him in a position where he's sort of interested but terrified at the same time. We introduced to the other, the sort of, not the mayor of the town, but they call him the judge, and he's like the guy. I suppose in these little towns in this time, you would have someone who's like the governor of that little village and town, that you would go to and turn to in need of help, or times of sort of like rules or laws or justification. And so our little farmhand's gone to speak to him about this fiend that we've seen, and we meet our wonderful judge, and it's absolutely amazingly played, absolutely incredible. And we meet his wife, and he explains to him about this fiend that he's found in the field, and the judge doesn't believe him, but his wife persuades him to go and investigate, and they go to investigate, and of course, as you know, it's not going to be there. So where's it gone? And so this is how our story sort of takes off into a sort of world of mystery and sort of like the unknown. Straight away we are into the unknown. And as our judge and our farmhand have gone to investigate this fiend, his nephew comes with the farmer daughter, who he plans to wed, and he's brought him to the family home to meet his aunt and his uncle. His aunt is not very pleased about that he's chosen a farmer's daughter for his bride to be, and there's a lot of sort of like you can see it all sort of disgust in her face as she's sort of like being introduced to this innocent young sort of girl, and it's all sort of like filmed in a most wonderful way where we get views through windows, we get views of sunlight, sun rays coming through the windows, and all this sort of, but still very quiet. Something eerie about the whole setting of the film, and our judge and our farm boy have bumped into the local vicar, who's a very, very oddball, strange character. And he's playing with what I would say was a racer sort of snake. It's a racer sort of snake. It's a very small sort of like grass sort of snake. And he's talking about this snake, and he explains to the judge that fiends have been found in this land over time, and so it's a very bizarre sort of thing. And the judge is very, okay, well, what's going on? What's going strange sort of thing happening? And when we go back to our house, our country farmhouse, with the judge and his nephew and his now fiance and the judge's wife, they're all playing cards and trying to sort of bond with the new bride to be. And the nephew wants her to stay the night, but this is not the done thing of this time. You don't have your to be wedded staying in your house. But they agree for her to stay, but she must stay in the attic. And so she goes up into the attic, where it's full of old clothes and boots hanging from the ceiling. And you can hear the wind. The wind now becomes a character in this film. You can hear it sort of blowing between the wood because obviously a lot of these houses were sort of wood, and you can hear the wind blowing through gaps and windows, and it's howling and whistling. And she's having to stay up there with these old clothes and boots, which apparently belongs to his other uncle who died not so long ago. So she's up there and being sort of freaked out by hearing all these strange noises of like creaking of floorboards and the wind blowing. And she screams, she lets out this scream. So her beloved runs up to try and see what's wrong, but for some bizarre reason he's lost the capability of opening a door, so he can't. So eventually the wife of the judge opens the door and goes in and gets scratched across her face for her intrusion into the room. And so she comes out all bloodied, so they think that this girl has gone mad. And so they lock her in this room overnight. And the judge tells, well, that was the close escape because she's not the bride for you. And so all these crazy, crazy, wonderful things going on. And then the next morning they come, the doctor's there, and he's another strange little character. And he's nursing our wife who's been scratched across the face. And he asks for some alcohol, so that the sort of maid brings it, and you think it's going to be for her, but he drinks it, and he's a wonderful sort of funny character. And so they come to take the young girl from the attic away, and as they're taking her away, you see that she's grown these claws on her hand. So something has happened to her in that attic. There's some history in this attic, in this house. And out in the fields, we're joined by the local, I'd say children, but I'd say young teenagers of the village, including our main sort of lead of the Angel, who's plays this beautiful young teenage girl who's mischievous and sort of like almost like a leader of these other teenagers in the village, and she comes across and finds something in the earth where we might have seen our fiend earlier, but she has found something. And so she's quite secretive about it. And they go to their local church for their Sunday school, where we see our priest trying to teach them the rights and wrongs of the church. And she's there with this thing that she's found, and the priest opens the little sort of purse that she's got it in, and it's a claw. And he drops it, and the other girl screams, and then Angel picks it up and hides it and won't let him have it. And then all these sort of wonderful, weird things grow around this whole little village. And the children of the village become this sort of satanic witchcraft group whose only ambition is to raise Satan, because they believe that the claws they've got is from Satan. And the chosen children of this village grow patches of hair, which they all need to cut off to sacrifice and give, so we can resurrect our Satan. And the film has lots of disturbing scenes later in the film, including a sort of prolonged rape scene, which I believe the filmmaker wasn't too happy with afterwards. He thought it was too prolonged, and even the actresses and actresses say that it was too long and too visual. And it's all led by Angel, who seems to be our sort of leader of this sort of young satanic group. So what is going to happen? Yes, and our judge goes off to try and investigate and find information out as he reads these things in books about these sort of strange happenings. So he goes off to investigate and leaves the village to its mercy. What is going to happen? Watch it and find out, because it's absolutely fantastic. It's an amazing film. It's one of what they call sort of like the first sort of trilogy of folk horror. We had the Wicker Man, and we got Witchfinder General, were looked upon as a trilogy, or not linked in any way whatsoever. They all sort of the only link they actually got was that it was all around British folklore. And they're all based in sort of Britain. Every country has its own sort of folklore and folk horror. I have done a top 10 of folk horror some time ago on my channel, so check it out if you want to delve in a bit more to folk horror. And now, what I was saying to you, I'm glad I own both editions of this film, because the other one that I've got, the colour is quite drained. It's very, very sort of not drab, but very a morbid sense of colour to it. It's very sort of dulled down. Well, this one has got a bit more of a vibrancy about it. The greens are green and the reds are red, and it looks a bit more sort of polished and vibrant. So that is why I'm so happy to actually have both editions. Again, this has been really well remastered. The restoration is fantastic. Absolutely loaded, guys, with special features. These are all the special features on the disc. So it's worth buying for that. It's got interviews with cast members talking about their experiences of the film and why some of them still regret being a part of that film, which is very interesting and quite I don't understand sort of thing why you would be feeling that way, but some people do, and that's the way they are. And this explains all these sort of wonderful things. The film itself is wonderfully acted. It's believable because you've got to place yourself back into that period of time in a more sort of like enriched medieval time of Britain, when we were the world was a lot more innocent. It wasn't about greed as such. it was more about take caring of what you had and appreciating what you had, and maybe even sharing with what you had. But these young teens of this village share a little bit too much, and they get a bit carried away into their satanic beliefs. And so you need to watch it and find out what actually happens. I don't score my films anymore, guys. I just recommend them. This is a highly, highly recommended film, especially if you want to really indulge yourself into British horror and find out the roots of British horror, of British folklore, if you like. Film, this film is absolutely enriched and with tons of it, loads of sort of funny ways of folklore. Where, like I said, where the bride to be was not allowed to stay at the house. And all this sort of thing, why there was one sort of person where everyone looked up to. All these are like little folklores around these little towns in Britain, and that's where we get today, in today's life, where you have towns where you have like a councillor or a mayor in some towns, and or cities, and it all develops from these kind of early sort of beginnings of our sort of British sort of structure, if you like, and this sort of demonstrates it, but it still shows their vulnerability and their beliefs of certain things that can take over. Guys, please check it out if you get a chance. It's really, really cool. This has not long been released. I believe the Blu-ray's about £16 or £17. The other copy I've got, which is now out of print, goes for silly money. So I won't be trading that or anything. I'll be keeping it as a part of my collection. But it's been great to revisit this absolutely wonderful film. And until you do check it out, go and check out some other horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzawell, I Am Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. And a massive shout out to my lad who absolutely loved this film when he watched it a few weeks ago. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.